Well, welcome back to the Finding Hope podcast. Today we have a room full. I've got Jesse.
Hello.
I got Rick.
Hello.
And I got Cam in the
Very,
room.
very special guest.
What's up?
He's a little nervous. That's fun though. So we're just gonna follow up today from our sermon from this past Sunday, where really we cast vision for 2026 and what 2026 looks like, and just addressing some of the growth and some of the situations that we're dealing with inside of our church. And so we just felt like it'd be good to have everybody in the room today and just talk about things, and so get some different perspectives and just dig a little deeper into some of the things that we talked about and how things happen. So one of the biggest shifts that we have put before you and introduced on Sunday is this idea of next steps and what that's going to look like, how that affects a few things going down the pipe. But next steps, I think, is big. It's a shift that we have been talking about for a number of months, trying to figure out how do we get people from just coming on a Sunday morning to taking their next steps to whatever stage it is. And so I think that's going to be huge in the life of the church. I think it's going to be helpful for the congregation and for new people that are coming in and getting plugged in and even taking their first step. And so I think that's one of the biggest things we're excited about in the coming days.
Yeah. When church growth happens, leadership style has to happen, and also managing of people has to happen. So we never really had to do anything like this where the biggest thing that we had really was Discover Hope, where it was a doorway into serving and doing those things. But we're getting a lot of questions and a lot of inquiries after a service to say, hey, how do I move from basically just, I've heard the message, I want to respond to it, I want to get baptized. So we're trying to open up a way for everyone to know, hey, go out to this table, get the information you need, and take your next step, whether that is salvation, whether it's baptism, whether it's joining the church, or whether it's just an area of serving. And we want to make that very available to everybody, very easily. So,
well, it needs to be easy.
Yeah, it needs to be very easy
because people, we don't want the church to be complicated to get involved with. We want it to be simple, and we want it to flow smoothly. And so, I think it's going to be a big deal.
So why do we want to do this? We talked about the what, really. Why is it that we feel like this is necessary at this time in our church? Why do we want to actually do this to get people and grab them and get them involved?
Because we're drowning. Just kidding. No, just teasing.
Well, no,
Just teasing.
I think that I think the last year has been a wild ride. We've grown, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. We've grown even since moving into this building. But I think 2025 was very big growth for us. Even just looking back, I pulled some numbers just yesterday, and I mean, it looks like from the start of 2025 to the start of 2026, we're in the 70% of growth in attendance, tracking like beginning of 2025 to 2026. And I don't know that holds or long term, but we can feel the growth. Like we can feel the change.
Real quick, real numbers. So year to date, last year, same Sunday, it's about 600.
650, yeah.
650, somewhere like that. 6-7, Anyway. And then this last Sunday, there was over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a massive jump. In that, what we don't want is we don't want this to be a revolving door. We don't want people to walk in our doors, and because we have experienced growth, to not be able to find their place to fit in or get plugged in.
Yeah.
And we want the transformation that's happening to find ground to flourish for years to come.
That's what I was going to say. And I think it still goes all back to discipleship. You want to see people discovering and using their gifts that God has uniquely given them. And when they're just coming in on Sunday mornings and sitting and then leaving.
Very easy to
Yeah.
come and very easy to leave.
Yeah, I don't really think you're fulfilling all that God has for you
Oh,
in that.
100%.
So
That's not. I don't.
just as a church, we should always be pushing ourselves and other people towards that.
Yeah, I mean, well, and you're exactly right. Coming to church, doing church, playing church is not what God intended for His people, or the church in general. Like He wants the church to be active. He wants people to be plugged in. He wants them to be using their gifts and the callings that He has given them. That's one of the things too. I think that next steps. I think, Rick, you and I both feel this way, but I hope that what we're beginning to see, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit, is when we say this during Discover Hope, but all the pieces of the puzzle are in the room. Like God's provided everything He needs. So the people that we need to serve in the next stage and the next level of things, I believe God's already put into this congregation. Sometimes that means people have to discover their gifts and their ability and step into that. And a lot of times people don't want to step into their giftings, and they just want to sit back. And I think some of it's hesitancy. I think some of it's nervous, afraid to step into that. But I think that's what we're trying to do, is to try to create a space for people to find their place, their gifting, and flourish in that.
So, Cameron, have you identified our next worship leader?
Other than Logan, no.
Okay. At least you have one. Yeah.
His heart just began to race.
Yeah, at least you have one. Yeah.
So-
Well, worship is a hard area to identify. I mean, you can't just like go serve donuts. It's like you got to have a little bit of talent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd echo that though with what you said, Will. I think there are so many people who are feeling that call that God's beginning to call them out and helping them see what their gifts are, what they could offer to the church. But there is a hesitancy there. There's a nervousness there, to should I do this? Should I not? And I think it's so important to find that first very, very small step. What is it? Is it simply going to that next steps table? Is it reaching out to somebody who's over a ministry? And finding that, because I mean, that was me, I remember, years ago, for like when I was kind of in youth ministry, when I very first started, for me, my first step was just telling somebody that I had a heart to do this. You know what I mean? And then God just began to open doors and opportunities after that.
So, remembering back when we were all young pups and stuff, what was the hesitant? I mean, is the hesitancy that we're not good enough? Is it that we don't know enough? Is it that we don't feel worthy enough? Is it just one of those things of saying my life is pretty good right now, and do I actually need to expend more energy for the church and move into this? I mean, Cameron, you were worship leader, doing worship, I remember, like 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, what got you to step up that early?
I think it was easy to just play guitar and stuff in the band, but I remember the first time I led worship, somebody was sick that day, and they were like, we need somebody to lead worship.
So
and
they
I was
called
like,
you that day.
Yeah, I was like, I guess I'll do it. I was like 16, 15. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll do it. And so that was the start of it.
So your yes was on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My yes.
That was
But
your chance.
let me say that, because my story's not. I didn't lead worship, but
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, remember the time we fired
Poorly.
Will from
Oh,
lead worship?
people are gonna be asking questions now. But I think what happened in that situation, even with me, like the church I grew up in, somebody was like, "Hey, can you help with sound with kids or student ministry or in the main auditorium?" And all of a sudden, like someone at a very young age looked at me and said, "Hey, I need you." And that's one of the things I think that churches get so that hurt churches so bad, is that they hold back ministry from young people. And that's one of the things we've tried to really cultivate here, is that when you we're plugging you in, we're using you, because ministry is one of those things, and serving the church is one of those things that happens very young. And you want to ignite that fire of serving, that it's okay. And I think what happens if you don't do that, people who are older, they're more nervous. Is like, oh, I could mess this up. And younger, you're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, it
but
also gets people in a very early age into a natural rhythm of serving, and the mystery is taken away.
Yeah.
But it's also you made a really good point. Somebody asked you.
That's right.
And I think another thing that the church doesn't do is they don't ask.
Yeah.
They don't sit there and say, "Hey, we have great need. We want you to get involved." Rick and Will aren't here, and Jesse and Cameron aren't here to do everything.
Yeah.
We can do everything, but it's one of those things where if we did everything, it would limit the capacity for gospel growth. I mean, when you look at the early disciples, when the church exploded, the very first decision they had to come to was, hey, how do we get more help and put more people over this? They weren't heavy-handed in this at all. They were ready to say, we got to raise some men up. We got to get them in a serving position, not necessarily a teaching position, but show them how to serve. And then out of that serving came leading, planting churches, pouring into the next generation. And I don't know if it's one of those things where the mentality of the church has become, I go to that church to meet all of my allocation with God or whatever that is. But our mindset's just not that. It is we come to church to celebrate what God's already doing in our lives throughout the week, to get fired up and equipped to go out and do more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as far as like Hope Church goes, we've been in like fight or flight mode since the start.
Yeah.
And so 2025 was kind of, okay, let's take a breath. And then 2026 is like, where are we going?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And we've been excited about this. I mean, I told Will this yesterday or Monday. I said, it's amazing to see something that we've worked very, very hard to see, and we've been wanting to do this actually for years and not months.
Yeah.
To get our congregation to a place where it's like, okay, now we're going to transition a couple things, not just to grow numerically, but to deepen your roots spiritually, to get you in a position where we want to teach you things and techniques and ways of exploring the Bible, to where when you get done with these classes, my hope is that they begin to teach their own classes.
Yeah, I think the shift that we're going to make on Wednesday nights is just going to be astronomical for our church in truly making disciples. Not only the class aspect, but even if you think about the next generation and how we are structuring our gatherings and what we're doing, we are intentionally setting them up with the model of what it looks like on Sunday mornings and how that flows from greeters to how to run pro presenter to worship leaders. We're doing all of these things to make disciples, to replicate, so that we can be a feeding ground to,
it's a
pour
natural
people in.
transition.
And then on the class side of things, you're opening up a space where people can begin to identify their gifts. We can help them see that and then pour into that with a little bit more strategic focus.
Yeah.
Like you said, Will, I think the pieces are here.
I got a response from a guy after third, and he said, every job I've ever gone to, they've given me training.
Yeah.
Sales training, job training. My son got a job at McDonald's, and they gave him training. The church doesn't do that. This is the most important thing in our life, and we're like, you got saved, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Word of God said, 2 Timothy 3:16, it's valuable for teaching, for training, for equipping, for reproof, for correction, all these things. And so when a church is merely evangelistic, and evangelistic is preaching the gospel, that's great. Getting people saved, that's great, but they never train and equip them to go and do the work of the ministry. That becomes that revolving door.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I think the hope in the classes is that you'll begin to kind of peel back the layers of people, and people will begin to see, oh, this isn't coming. Even when it comes to sharing the gospel, just conversation. Like, I think people are so scared to just talk about Jesus, and one of the things that I continue to tell people, like, you don't need to worry, you don't need to get so bent out of shape. The Lord's first of all going to give you what you need. Secondly, it's okay if you don't know. Like, that's the thing. I think people are like, I got to know all this stuff. No, you don't. You just need to be available. You need to be there to love and to care for people and walk through situations with people and point to Jesus in everything. It's not that complicated.
Well, I think that goes back to the hesitation to step into the gifts that we think God's calling us into, or even sharing the gospel. I think for a lot of us, it goes back to shame. You know, God's never going to forgive me for that. You know, and
Or
even
that I'm not good enough.
or I'm just not good enough. But I mean, I mean, even for me, you know, coming from a kid whose dad was a pastor, was in the church the moment I was born, you know, like the path that I took and some of the mistakes that I made, I'm just like, gosh, I knew so much better than what I did, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't need to be doing this, and having to get over that of knowing that his grace is sufficient and good enough for me.
I think there's one other aspect that I want to kind of touch on, because what Cameron said, we've been in fight or flight pretty much since, you know, we started and really trying to get our feet under us and start this thing out and try to find our way. And through the grace of God, I think we've got a really good foundation. And it's not that our congregation wasn't ready. What I think has happened is there's been a mutual trust that has been built between us and the congregation.
Absolutely.
To go in and just preach a solid word. And we don't have to be flashy. We don't have to sit here and it's almost like they're like, just teach us the word and show us what's in the word of God. And we trust you with that. And we trust that, hey, listen, I don't have to be entertained up here. Make it entertaining, that's fine. But we want to hear what the Word of God has to say for us. And the natural reaction to that is to say, okay, now let's get into a classroom setting. Begin to really give some foundational doctrine and not have to worry that your expectation is this is going to be like, you know, the entertainment model that we see so much. It's like, no, we want you to basically serve us some meat now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that freedom is unbelievable. I mean, to be able to come into an environment that's like, okay, we're going to get into some serious doctrinal stuff, and to know that you're not going to sit here and like fall asleep, get bored, be like, why are we even here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's an excitement about that I think is really, really good. And even with, you know, revolving this into how you're doing worship sets now, there's just been this mutual trust that has been built, and there's like a freedom that we kind of have, that it's just like, this is what we do. We're unapologetic about it. And people are like, we actually really appreciate that, you know?
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about going into these environments and having, to lay out that, hey, what are you guys going to do in 2026? We're going to teach classes. And an overwhelming response be like, this is awesome, you know?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what y'all talked about on Sunday, like, stop being a consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come out to these classes on Wednesday nights and really grow, you know?
Yeah.
Don't just come on Sunday because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And we want to be here to help you work out your own salvation, but we can't continue to force feed and spoon feed some stuff. There's got to be an eventual Christian maturity and growth that says, I desire the true Word of God, the meat of the Word of God, and I want to know what I don't know. And one of the things that really kind of hit me with this, a long time ago, I went through these classes, this sort of the same model, and they were grueling. I mean, each class was like a 9-week class.
Yeah.
So the first 3 were not 3 weeks; they were 9 weeks, and then the second were 9 weeks, third were 9 weeks. So I mean, you're looking well over a year of biblical foundational classes, and the majority of the people that I grew up with going through those classes are still in ministry leading today.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how transformational
That's
they
awesome.
were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. What I would like to do is to go through these first 3 sessions and then begin to add Old Testament survey, add New Testament survey, add some of these seminary courses that you just keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
We've lost Will.
No, I'm here. I'm here. It's good.
Speaking of people sleeping,
Yeah.
it's over there.
Yeah, definitely not sleeping. No, it's just an exciting time, and I think we felt that in the congregation, in the response. I think you and I, Rick, both we weren't 100% sure how this would land and how it all, but it overwhelmingly, I think that the response that we've gotten back was excitement, and that's an exciting thing on our side. And so now it's really, what do we do? And in the context, Sunday threw us kind of for a loop. Sunday was one of our largest days that we've ever had. It wasn't. There wasn't anything real special about Sunday. There wasn't Easter. It wasn't Mother's Day. Anything like that. And we were nearly 1,050. And I think that caught us off guard because we just haven't been that high, and we've continued to see people come in. And that's one of the things we were talking about. But now it's the question as to how do we navigate 2026 and navigate that kind of growth. How do we navigate that kind of amount of people and make sure that we do things well, and we make space for people to continue to hear the gospel and be transformed? And how do we do that? And so I think there's a lot of things that we have seen and we're looking at, but and we can't unfold everything, but in 2026, we know that nothing's really going to change with our facility. So how do we manage what we do in 2026 with the growth?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, we threw the survey up on the board, and the I think 70% roughly said that a Sunday afternoon works better for them. One of the interesting things that we saw from that survey is that 53% checked that they were not serving in any capacity in our church, which on that was the largest response we got. There were other. I mean, we got
So there's about 300 response. There's about 300 responses.
Yeah.
And we think that that's probably more couples, or families, and so 160 of those people.
So it could potentially be more like 500 to 600 people.
Could be.
If it
Could be
you
more.
just doubled it, assuming it was couples.
50% of that, 53% weren't currently serving, and so I think that's we need those people to take the step to begin to serve and to get connected, and I think it's kind of where the next kind of step is.
And in the traditional church model, which you look at an 80-20 rule, 80% come, 20% serve, we're doing better than the traditional model. But that's just not who we are as a church. We want people to engage. We want people to get connected in serving, in joining a life group, in leading areas of ministry. That's how fellowship happens. That's how true relationships begin to happen and begin to form. And it's very hard if people are just attending when they come in and they come out for us to get to know them. Yeah. And our desire is to get to know everybody here, and because we believe the church is a family. One of the things that you talked about was the potential for building on, finding another location, doing these things, which we've talked about this extensively with our elders, with contractors, with other things, entities. But one of the things that we need everybody to know is basically suck it up. We're going to be here for 2 or 3 more years, regardless of anything that's happening, because just the planning process, the building process, all these things, we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
This is where we are right now. There's a lot of things that we can't really talk about at this point that we are working on in kind of behind the scenes, but we're having conversations with people as to what can we do with the owners of this building and what our options are, and what do we have. And so there's a lot of things that are materializing, but no answer, no direction. So it's not going to help us to do anything to speculate. The moment that we are right now, and just it doesn't matter if we were able to start construction on doing anything, whether it doesn't matter. We are at least 2 to 3 years minimal before we could ever get into something. That's just, so it doesn't matter. So we have to understand that from this point forward, we're always kind of 2 years away from anything. So that means, how do we navigate the growth that we have and the people that we have here in this place in the next few years? And that means that I know things are uncomfortable. Listen, I know the parking lot's uncomfortable. I know that we have parking issues, and we're dealing, we're trying to deal with that. And there's some other things that I kind of think we can do to help mitigate some of that, and we're working on that. But it's we've got to figure out how do we do that. And the biggest thing at this point that and we're not trying to beat people over the head with this, but how do we make space for people to come and not feel uncomfortable? And right now, in the heart of our timing, the way that we have things set up with 3 services, there's one service that is the main attractor, and that's the 9:45. And right now, the biggest ask that we can put before the congregation is, hey, I guess there's two sides. We need you to serve because we're growing and we need that, but we need you to consider going to the first service or the third. The first is the least at this point. Third is filling up. And so I don't know if people are going to the third at this point and making more room, and we're just growing at such capacity, but we still got to make more room for more people so that we can continue to maintain and do that. And that's going to be, unfortunately, that's going to be an ask that we're going to be asking for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's not.
Till we go to 5 services.
Yeah.
We'll still be asking.
Yeah. And so, it's that's kind of where we're at. It's interesting. I knew this, but it was interesting just to see on the survey. Of course, the majority of responses were in the 9:45, but the biggest place that people were serving is kids. The 2 biggest places that we have to serve is really First Impressions, which is parking lot, fellowship, greeting, that type deal, and kids. And so 21% of those that responded are serving in kids ministry, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But it's a necessity, and we're going to need more. I misspoke Sunday and said, hey, somewhere we usually have between 120 to 150 kids in back there, and on Sunday alone, I pulled this number up, but in one service alone, we had 120 kids in
one service.
in the 9:45, 120 kids.
It was crazy in there.
In all reality, just talking to our team, what happened on Sunday in the 9:45 is probably the max capacity that we can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were busting at the seams, and it like if we go try to fit anybody else in here, it's probably unsafe. And when I say unsafe, it's not the building capacities. The capacities are okay on the building, but you have to, in kids' rooms, you have to make sure that you're not cramming kids in there in such a way that it's you can't care for them, you can't teach them.
Well, there's also a percentage of kids to teachers that
Yeah.
with the ratio we want to have, and therefore it goes back to again serving in kids and serving in those areas of ministry. The other interesting thing is that we've been through multiple moves. And so we met at a farm, we moved to a school, we're now at a strip mall, and moving and building doesn't bother us. It's not the unknowns of that really are we're fearful of.
It's because we've seen God provide.
Yeah,
over
we've
and
seen
over
God
again,
provide.
That's what's cool about it.
And so one of the things that I think we have is this true faith that God is going to lead us where He wants us, whether that's building on here or finding a piece of land, moving into. We don't get in front of God. We let God get in front of us and open those doors for us. And so sometimes, we get a lot of responses. Hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And we're very, very comfortable with saying we don't know right now,
And that's okay.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
We would rather wait and rely on the Lord to do what He wants to do, because we looked at this building multiple times before we moved in, and none of us liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then it's been awesome.
and it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
And so we allowed the Lord to move in that and to open those doors. I mean, I think we knocked on 10 plus areas, met with realtors, and did everything else. So we're going to do the same process. We're going to pray about it. We're going to let the Lord open the doors that He wants to open. We're going to go through those things. We're going to make it the best financial decision we can for the congregation and for what we've already invested in this facility. And we're going to trust in Him and have peace about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give you some numbers.
Okay.
Real quick from Sunday. I'm talking about kids, just in
Yeah.
kids. We were up 38% from the week before. That's the drastic. I mean, just
Do we
in
have
kids
enough
ministry. I don't know. but 195 kids checked in on Sunday morning.
Wow.
3 guests. That's probably really, I guess, 198.
That's insane.
Guests were the way that the system works it, but with volunteers, 230 people back serving in the kids department, and that's insane. That's crazy. But yeah, so like back to your point, we're gonna do the wise thing, and here's the thing that I think we learned out of coming into this building, which we needed to get in this building. But I think there's a couple things that we would say, hey, let's take a few more months and let's iron out some details. This is going to sound real stupid on the podcast, but electrical outlets. Like there's some things that we've had to go back and go, we need to add outlets here and different things. And it's there's just little details that I think that we, going through processes like this, we go back and go, okay, we just need to just take another moment and let's look through
Storage.
this. Storage. Well, and we talked about
Heat
that
in the green room.
Yeah, there's just so many things that we've learned through this process, and it's good. Like it's just like raising your kids. You're always learning. And teaching your kids, you're learning from situations to prepare you for what's next. I mean, I can look back in all areas of ministry that God's prepared me for this time in the things that he's done. And so we're in the same place, and we don't know the answer. We don't have anything really to even put before anybody. And so,
but here's the thing with moving into this building. I think I know our leadership staff, our staff, our elders, our deacons, the people that were kind of walking with us through major decisions, they really saw the hand of God move. And it wasn't one of those things where it was like, we've got all this figured out. We know exactly what this is going to look like. We had a lot of reliance on the Lord. And what was beautiful about that is that we actually saw him come through in just a magnificent fashion. I want the same thing in the next phase. I want our congregation to be like, this was the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely.
This wasn't two bozos that, think they've got it all figured out. We're running on some faith here. I remember when we came to the end of the building, the thing had been renovated. We're getting ready to move in, and we're like $500,000 short. And I had some sleepless nights over that because I'm just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And there were some moments where there was stress, and people kept saying, well, let's get out of the church or let's get out of the school and just move to a building. And I'm like, do you know of a building that holds 500 people right now?
Yeah.
No.
Because we looked.
Yeah. So moving 100 people, that's pretty tame. Moving 500 to 1,000 people, you're looking at a whole nother level and another ball game. And in this second move, it's going to be well over 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be, you know.
I think that's what people have to continue to understand is you can do the numbers, you can talk practicality, but as soon as you take God out of the picture, you have to leave some room for God to move and for God to do something that maybe we can't think of or maybe we can't fathom or we would not think that would be a possibility. Yep. And through that's how he really grows us, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it's a testament to for the congregation to actually see that happen and say, "Oh yeah, the Lord did this. This was absolutely incredible." So, yeah, we're doing our due diligence. We're making the meetings. We're having the conversations, but we're not taking the Lord out of the picture at all.
No, there's I guess just kind of prepare the congregation that right now we're moving towards making the shift on Wednesday nights, and that those dates and things will probably come out fairly soon to the whole congregation as to how things will transition. Those are not all ironed out at this point, so we don't want to say anything. But there's going to have to be some adjustments, and over the next few weeks and even month that we kind of navigate the coming days, I'm interested to see what what happens, and not from an aspect of like we just I guess I'm kind of going behind the curtain. We have to look 2 months ahead and think about, okay, if numbers are continuing to increase, how do we make adjustments to make room for people? But those adjustments aren't just like really quick transitions,
right.
and so we have to kind of think ahead. And so just thinking about the biggest Sunday that we ever have is Easter, and at this point, like, we're probably going to have, and I don't think we'll go to 4 services before this, but on Easter, more than likely, I say more than likely, probably confidently, going to have 4 services in some form or fashion. And we've got some ideas behind that, but there's just no way to fit. We were at 1,200 last year, and we were 150 away from that this past Sunday. That's inevitable.
And the model is whatever you are on Easter, in 2 years, that's your normal congregation attendance. Well, we were at 1,200 at Easter last year. We're over 1,000 now. We're not hitting the normal marks. We're above those. Yeah.
So just kind of setting the groundwork for that is Easter is probably going to look a little different. Probably means Good Friday's going to look a little different. We've not really even discussed all that, but there's just things that we have to think about. And
4 services on Good Friday. We did all right on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we did all right on Christmas Eve, but I think, yeah. So, anyways, there's just things for us to think about. It's the stuff that we have fun thinking about, and some of it stresses us, but these are good problems to have. And I think what we're seeing, as we kind of said Sunday, we're seeing transformational growth, and because of that, it's attractive. It's attracting people. People are sharing what's going on in their life, and that's good, and we want that. And so, all good things.
All good things.
Anything else we need to talk about, or did we hit it all?
Cameron, you got any final thoughts?
Can't say I do.
Your yes on the table.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, this guy loaded out of a school for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
So his yes is on the table.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we are grateful for you just taking the time to hear, as Rick said, us bozos talk. Grateful that you're listening to this podcast, and just if you're a part of Hope Church and you're connected with us, grateful for what you do in and through this body. And so, hope this is encouraging to you, and hope that you have a good rest of the week. See you on Sunday.